From the Saint of Death to wicked water dwellers looking to kidnap you. Here are the top 5 terrifying demons found in South America. Number 5 on this list is La Madre Monte. According to myths and legends of Colombia, La Madre Monte is a legend in which a woman who wears moss, leaves, and a green hat that conceals her face. She lives in the dense jungle and supposedly bathes in rivers, causing flooding and heavy storms. Madre Monte haunts those who steals other people's land and casts plagues on cattle owners who ignore boundaries and take advantage of others. She also dislikes unfaithful spouses, vagabonds, and general mischief makers and punishes them by placing insurmountable obstacles in their path when they walk through the jungle. They eventually fall asleep with exhaustion and do not wake for hours. I think what's especially dangerous about this demon is her ability to control the weather the way that she does. It's said that even if you happen to be walking throughout the jungle or forested areas and you happen to get close to where she lives, then she'll use her powers to change the weather and make it extremely dangerous for you. This has caused some people to die before and wrecked even people's homes. For the most part, she'll target people who have wronged somebody else before, and even though this isn't right, it at least means that you can protect yourself by not wronging somebody else. However, to just be walking and accidentally run into her home and then get swept up in a horrible lightning storm definitely isn't cool. Be very careful of this demon witch in the woods if you happen to be around the area. Number 4 on this list is El Chupacabra. One of the most famous urban legends in the area, El Chupacabra is probably one that you've heard of before. Now, this demonic creature is most commonly associated with Puerto Rico. It has, as time gone on, been spotted more and more frequently in parts of South America though, like Chile. Wikipedia says, the Chupacabra or Chupacabras, literally goat sucker from Spanish, chupa to suck and cabras goats, is a legendary creature in the folklore of parts of the Americas, with its first purported sightings reported in Puerto Rico in 1995. The name comes from the animal's reported vampirism. The Chupacabra is said to attack and drink the blood of livestock, including goats. Physical descriptions of the creature vary, with some describing it as more dog-like, while others describe it as a reptilian and alien-like thing. Some report it as being a heavy creature the size of a small bear with a row of spines reaching from the neck to the base of the tail. Now, after some extensive research on this creature, I couldn't actually find any reported attacks on humans. So it seems that this bloodthirsty villain is truly only interested in animals. That being said, there were some instances where people had seen this creature, tried to stop it, and it looked as if it was preparing to attack them. Like most vicious animals, it's probably most interested in its food, but it's gonna defend itself to the last ounce of its energy if it has to. Therefore, El Chupacabra is truly only super dangerous to farmers of livestock. If you happen to be a farmer of said livestock, then having some sort of mechanism to keep out this vampiric demon lizard is of critical importance, or else it will completely decimate your animals. It's definitely better that you invest in some serious fencing, because trying to stop it by yourself, it could prove very dangerous. Number 3 on this list is the Encantados. The Encantados are a group of multiple demon creatures that reside underwater. They are extremely dangerous and have reportedly been responsible for several human disappearances. The thing about Encantados is that they're very curious about humans, and you may have no idea that you're dealing with one for a long time. Mental Floss says the Encantado is a dolphin, but one with evil powers. Encantado means enchanted one in Portuguese and refers to a special kind of boto, or long-beaked river dolphin native to the Amazon, that can take human form. Encantados are curious about humans and are especially attracted to big, noisy festivals, which they often attend as musicians, staying in human form for years. How can you recognize one? Look under its hat. They always have bald spots that are actually disguised blowholes. Encantados are usually friendly, but they occasionally hypnotize and kidnap young women and take them back to the Encante, their underground city. Sometimes the women escape and return pregnant with an Encantado baby. So they seem really nice and good right up until they decide to kidnap you and take you to their underground city where any number of things could happen. Most of the people who are taken there never return, and as they said, the ones that do have another passenger coming along for the ride. The origin of Encantados are not 100% confirmed, but it seems that many people think that it was a small village that was cursed to live underwater for a long time. Now they reside there except for the few times that they take the surface disguised as humans to see what we're up to and to take a few of us back to their evil lair. Number 2 on this list is El Sebon. El Sebon, also known as the Whistler, is a demon that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. This is a mistake though, and frankly we need to be talking and educating more about this demon and how dangerous it can be. The Spanish language blog says, according to a legend often told in the rural parts of Venezuela, El Sebon is the last soul of a young man who one day killed his own father in revenge because he murdered his son's girlfriend as he didn't approve of their relationship. After he killed his father, the young man's grandfather took it upon himself to punish him by tying him to a tree and beating him with a whip until he bled. Then he condemned him to carry his father's remains in a sack on his back. As the boy walked away into the plains, his grandfather yelled at him, "You shall not do that to your father, you are damned for all eternity," and then set his rabid dogs after him. It's said that the boy's spirit brings death and destruction to anyone who comes across him. His ghost is described as an extremely tall and skinny man who wears a farming hat and whistles the notes do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. He's very tricky while deceiving his victims. When his whistling is heard up close, he's actually far away, but when he's heard from afar, you better start running because he's actually nearby. So first off, that initial family is freaking messed up, dude. Your dad kills your girlfriend, so then you kill your dad, but then your grandfather beats you, forces you to carry around your dead dad, and then sends dogs after you. Like, what the heck? Aside from the family being absolutely bonkers, this demon is also kinda nuts as well. I get serious Batman Joker vibes from the creepy whistle that he does there to indicate that he's coming to get his victims. The way he kills his victims is said to be very graphic as well, and he won't have you die slowly. It will be a long and drawn out process of torture that will have you begging for death. Nobody really knows how to defend yourself against this demon either. Fighting it one-on-one just simply won't work and you're gonna lose. You just need to pay very close attention to the whistle, and if you do ever hear it, don't second guess anything, just take off and don't look back. Hope that he loses interest in you and moves on to something else. Just a terrifying demon who you need to avoid at all costs. And finally, number 1 on this list is San La Muerte. So San La Muerte is one of the most famous on this list, and I can promise you that you definitely do not want to run into this one. San La Muerte is your typical personification of death in South America. It is a male figure that's dressed in a hooded cloak holding a very sharp and very menacing scythe that is sometimes referred to as Saint Death. Saint Death, or just death if you will, brings one thing alone, and it's not a welcome gift. No, as you would expect, it's death. And this demonic personification of death is said to be pretty inherently evil as well. There are many followers that look up to Saint Death and praise him. The biggest following for him is in Argentina and the countries surrounding Argentina. Saint Death is said to reward his followers by helping them on their evil ventures. Let's say that you're a dangerous murderer, but you're also a strong supporter of Saint Death. Well, if Saint Death likes you, then he'll use his powers that he has to have you evade the law or even assist you in killing people. He grants numerous requests that are all connected to crime and violence and is basically the guardian angel for the evil criminals of the world. San La Muerte also acknowledges those who do not devote a part of their lives to him, and it's not the type of acknowledgement that you'd want. He will often kill those who disrespect him and don't support him. This is part of the reason why he has such a strong and stable following, and many people are constantly praising him and his abilities. If you ever see this demon confront you, then there's most likely nothing you can do at all. That will be the last thing that you ever see and your last moment ever spent on Earth.
Coming in at number 5, we've got Yaldabaoth. This one's a super big Persona 5 spoiler, so if you haven't played it yet or are still waiting for the Switch version, sorry, maybe skip to the next number. The Holy Grail, the God of Control, the fake Igor. This is the absolute biggest bad in Persona 5. After the Phantom Thieves defeat all of the other more publicly menacing enemies and assume it'll be smooth sailing to the end, this guy shows up to ruin everything. And he totally does ruin everything. As the manifestation of humanity's wish for order and control, this mecha angel can control people's desires and their cognition of the world around them. He considers himself a god above all other beings. Talk about a superiority complex. As such, he is also representative of the 7 deadly sins: lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, pride, you name it. He has the power to destroy the world through a hard reset of everything, or by enslaving humanity through a false reality. Although he didn't begin with all that power. Yaldabaoth holds the human world in the palm of his hand, and is made more powerful by the will of humans as a whole. The more people that wish for a strong leader and to be told what to do, the more mighty he becomes. Upon gaining sentience, he saw how corrupt society was and decided that humans should be met with ruin. This is a little bit paradoxical though, because he does have the ability to influence the will of the public. As such, he could steer them in a better direction, but instead allows them to continue on the same path in order to ensure his rule over the world. All this power makes him arrogant, believing that he is truly the ultimate being. That kind of arrogance makes me suspect that he would destroy the whole world on a whim, and he would have got away with it too if it weren't for those meddling thieves. Number 4, Beelzebub. No, not Beelzebub. This demon isn't quite as sick nasty on the drums. However, he is the demon of gluttony, the devil of pride, the false god. He's one of the 3 most prominent and powerful of the fallen angels alongside Satan and Leviathan. This guy sits atop Hell's hierarchy like it's nothing. Known for causing jealous murders and inciting wars, this is another demon who loves to watch the world burn. His aim is to cover the world with terror and corruption. And that's not too hard for a demon with dominion over decay and decomposition. You'll know it's him by the swarms of flies that surround him, or if he decides to transform into a giant hideous fly himself. And unlike Seth Brundle, Beelzebub can change back into his human form, no problems. These flies can even carry souls into the abyss. There are a few ways this fiery fly fellow might end the world. One would be raising an army of chaos at the drop of a hat. Yeah, that would be bad. Although, if I know anything about demons, I would say he might try some other stuff first. As a demon of gluttony, it's likely that his plans are already in effect. He could be very well influencing powerful humans, getting them to encourage overconsumption across the board. Why else would we be eating fast food and throwing away unused groceries when there are starving people out there? What other reason could there be behind the insane burning of fossil fuels and the constant purchasing of plastic gadgets that we don't need? It's Beelzebub trying to make us hollow out our planet. It's gotta be. If it's up to him, we won't go out with a bang, but with a whimper. Coming in at number 3, we've got Xenobites. Speaking of bangs and whimpers, if these terrifying extra-dimensional torture play demons take over, we'll be doing a lot of both. Hailing from Clive Barker's extended universes, the Xenobites have collective power unlike any other. To quote Pinhead himself, they are explorers in the further regions of experience. Demons to some, angels to others. Clad in leather, with lots of open wounds to boot, these BDSM-loving aliens can only come to Earth through schisms in time and space, opened by unearthly artifacts. When summoned, they are known to subject their victims to emotional and psychological torture far beyond what any human could have previously imagined. With a variety of powers, this is no big deal to the Xenobites. Hooks and chains that can be summoned from any shadow to rip and tear at the flesh of those under their influence, telekinetic powers, and otherworldly strength are just a few of the many ways they can drive humans mad with pain and pleasure. The pain is obviously being delivered in much higher quantities. As detailed in Hellraiser 2, they actually live in another maze-like dimension, and they bring their quarry into this labyrinth for unimaginable torture. There are also beastly abominations dwelling in this dimension that could be released into the human world, looking for some flesh to consume. Horrible monstrosities aren't well known for their self-regulation either. The Xenobites don't seem too concerned with destroying the planet in earlier earlier iterations of the Hellraiser series, but starting in Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, it seems like some can break free of whatever was limiting that urge before. Pinhead acts on his own, flying in the face of previous Cenobite behavior and uses his powers to cause all sorts of pain and destruction. This implies that other Cenobites have the capacity to do the same, which could spell out major calamity on Earth if they all choose to hop over one dimension en masse. Y'all better get ready for some intense pain and pleasure or you're in for a bad time. They have such sights to show us. Filling out our number 2 spot, we've got the Icon of Sin. Somebody called Doomguy, we need a little help. The final boss in Doom 2, Hell on Earth, this Baphomet-headed demon spawner could end our world in a heartbeat. In fact, it already did in Doom 2. Just because it was killed in the end doesn't mean the world isn't still blasted to smithereens. There's no taking back that kind of worldwide collapse. The Earth is already ruined by the time our heroic space marine shows up to kick ass and chew bubblegum. Wait, no, that's the wrong FPS. Getting back to how this giant robo-devil would destroy the world, it literally infinitely spawns demons from hell into our world. How does it do this? Well, in the Doom universe, humans have come up with some pretty ingenious teleportation technology. However, as teleportation tech is apt to do, it malfunctions and opens a portal to hell on Mars. We are led to believe that this problem only exists on Mars in the first game, but that would be too convenient, wouldn't it? In Doom 2, more portals open on Earth and the Icon of Sin gets to chill in the bowels of hell and fire demon after demon through these portals to cause humans a whole lot of trouble. And if we're being real, nobody on Earth even comes close to the demon slaying capabilities of the fictional Doomguy. So if these portals open, and if this metal-headed brain demon decides to spawn a bunch of Hellions in the city streets, it's all over. And filling out our number 1 spot, we have the Saint of Killers from Preacher. Of all the demons on this list, only one has successfully killed both Satan and God. Yes, I did say a demon killed God. That deity-ending demon is the Saint of Killers from Preacher. Once a bloodthirsty Confederate soldier known as the Butcher of Gettysburg, the Saint of Killers decided to settle down with a woman and find peace. Still a man at this point, he fell in love, had a family, and was happy. Sadly, he lived in a time where medicine was scarce and happy endings even scarcer. Disease took its toll and his family died when he was out looking for a cure. Upon finding their corpses, the last sliver of good inside him disappeared and he became a force of pure hatred. He walked through the town of Ratwater and slaughtered every single citizen. Upon emptying out the local saloon, he took a shot and was killed by a tornado. His hate did not max out there though. No way. Instead, he was damned to hell and forced to relive his family's death over and over. Each time he also lived through his slaughter of the Ratwater populace. Soon enough, he's sprung from hell to seek out and kill Jesse Custer, and well, the rest is history. Immortal and on a bloody quest for revenge against the world, the Saint of Killers is a killing machine. I mean, you probably got that bit from his name. His guns, a pair of Colt 1847 Walkers, were gifted to him by the Angel of Death. They never run out of ammunition, they never jam, and they are omni-deadly. That means they will not miss their target and one shot will always kill, regardless of circumstance. It's like aimbot in real life. Can't kick this guy from the lobby. The guns can penetrate a dozen walls and actually drill a hole from one end of the earth to the other. Plus, he retains them even after dying, which coincidentally is how he kills God. So now he's up in heaven ruling over paradise. And if he chose to do so, he could kill every last person on earth without breaking a sweat. And knowing the amount of hatred deep in his heart, he probably would without a second thought.
Kicking off at number 5, Abraxas, who is perhaps one of the most mysterious entities in the whole of the demonic glaciers. Throughout ancient history, Abraxas is referred to many times as an archon, an eon, a demon, and even a god. In the ancient theology of Gnosticism, Abraxas is continually referred to in the holy book of the Great Invisible Spirit as an aeon, a species of cosmic intrigue that inadvertently created the demiurge, a mysterious, malevolent force of unknown intent. Abraxas really has been around for as long as anyone can recall, and his mystic uncertainty is what guides his rank in the demonic hierarchy. In Jacques-Colin de Plance's Infernal Dictionary, Abraxas is labelled as the supreme god of the Basilidians, a Gnostic sect that were wiped out sometime in the 4th century, and whose motivation in history is unclear. There are a series of mysterious relics left behind though, a vast number of engraved stones dubbed the Abraxas stones, of which purpose no one really knows. spooky. Coming in at number 4, Mamon. Mamon, who takes up a role as one of the 7 princes of hell, who in more interpretable terms makes up the 7 deadly sins, is the demonic manifestation of greed. Mamon is widely considered to be a demon of Syrian origin. As Peter Lombard, the Bishop of Paris, stated, riches are called by the name of a devil, namely Mamon, for Mamon is the name of a devil by which riches are called according to the Syrian tongue. Bit of a mouthful. Throughout many ancient texts, the word Mamon crops up to describe an entity of greed and avarice. In John Milton's Paradise Lost, Mamon is referenced as a fallen angel who values earthly treasures over all other things. Later, in contemporary occultism, Colin de Plancy describes Mamon in the Dictionnaire Infernal as hell's ambassador to England, which I'm not entirely sure if I'm insulted or not. Either way, Mamon has cemented himself a pretty cushy demonic existence by hoarding material wealth and corrupting others to do the same. Next up at number 3, Agrat Bat Malat. Possibly the daughter or granddaughter of Lilith, who we've covered here before, Agrat Bat Malat is a prolific demon in Jewish mythology. In Zoroastrian Kabbalah, she is a queen of demons and one of the 4 sacred angels of sacred prostitution, who mated with the archangel Samail, we'll get to him later, and later became the 4th succubi. Her fellow demons and sisters are Lilith, Namer, and Eshteth. In rabbinic literature, she is known as the dancing roof demon, haunting the air with her chariot and her train of 18 messengers of spiritual destruction, which is pretty heavy reading, I guess. Agrat Bat Malat also occurs in ancient texts as the mistress of the sorceresses who communicated magical secrets to Amemar, a prominent sage of Babylon. She is also widely tied up in legends of King David, where she bore him the son Asmodeus, king of the demons. Swinging in at number 2, Samail, who is a very interesting and oftentimes perplexing figure in theology and demonology. Samail in Hebrew is described as the venom, the poison, and the blindness. He is an incredibly important figure in the Talmud, where he is seen as the accuser, the seducer, and the destroyer, and is often regarded as both good and evil. Oh, and on top of that, he's the archangel of death. Pretty big boots to fill. It's in the Kabbalah where his roots in demonology begin though, where he is tied to the demon Lilith, the first of the succubi. With her, Samail created a host of demonic children, including a son, the Sword of Samail, who you may know as Asmodai. In Gnosticism, Samail appears as the blind god and comprises 1/3 of the demiurge. Often through Gnostic texts, he appears as a lion-faced serpent and is perhaps one of the oldest malign references throughout ancient scripture. And finally, our number 1 spot, Leonard. And to be honest, I've been wanting to cover this guy for quite some time, simply because of his name, Leonard. The antiquitous pronunciation, of course, would be Leonard, but come on. It's Leonard. Also known as Master Leonard, as laid out in the Dictionnaire Infernal, he's the Grand Master of nocturnal orgies and demons. In folklore, he is represented as a 3-horned goat with a darkened human face. He marks his initiates with one of his horns and is often considered the demonic representation of the goat. In demonology, infernal powers obtained from the worship of Master Leonard range from metamorphosis into monstrous animals, or even causing men to fly as an incubus. It is often thought that Leonard is associated with the iconography of Baphomet, or the Goat of Mendes, a figure worshipped allegedly by the Knights Templar. In scripture, he was worshipped at black banquets held in Leonard's honor, where dead baby goats were eaten without salt and boiled with reptiles to deliberately spoil the meat. I mean, that's just a waste, really.
Jumping in at number 5, we have Belial. Belial, whose name in Hebrew literally translates to worthless or yokeless, was canonized as the leader of the Sons of Darkness in the Dead Sea Scrolls. If you didn't know, the Dead Sea Scrolls are an ancient Jewish text discovered in 1947, which are believed to have been written before 400 BC and refer to a wide host of demonic beings. Seriously, it's spooky how much they name drop them. In these scrolls, scrolls, Belial is described as both the king of evil and the prince of darkness, which has led many to believe that Belial is a pseudonym of the devil himself. Belial is also known as the Lord of Lies and the Master of Deceit. Many texts refer to Belial as a devious figure who utilizes fornication, wealth, and pollution of the sanctuary to get exactly what he wants. However, in the Satanic Bible, Belial's name is suggested to translate as without a master and symbolizes independence, self-sufficiency, and personal accomplishment. It begs the question, whose side is Belial really on? Coming up at number 4, we have Surgat. In Latin, Surgat literally translates to rise and is the physical manifestation of rebellion and opposition. His angelic opposite is Aquiel. To be honest, Surgat is a minor demon and is pretty weak sauce compared to some of the guys on this list. But the thing that makes him pretty terrifying is his brush with a particular pope. Written between 1150 and 1227, the Grimoire of Honorius was written by Pope Honorius III with the intention of being specifically used by a priest. Pope Honorius was obsessed with the thought of Satan invading the mortal realm, and so began preparing the Catholic Church for a war. He wrote down his findings in this forgotten grimoire, which wasn't unearthed until 1760. Honorius began his training by purposefully summoning demons, and then banishing them again in a sort of weird, spooky, demonic boxing session. It proved quite effective, and the Pope soon started to get a handle on the armies of hell. He'd write down the name of each demon he fought and leave an elaborate explanation of their strengths and weaknesses. Kind of like a Pokédex, but for demons. That is until he came face to face with Surgat. All that was written in his section of the grimoire was that Surgat is he who opens all locks. That was the last demon that Pope Honorius noted down in his book. Makes you wonder what happened, eh? Next up at number 3, we have the Great Duke of Hell, Berith. Also referred to as Baal Berith, this guy is a pretty formidable dude. Known in the Infernal Dictionary as the Great Duke of Hell, Berith commands 26 legions of demons and is a pretty big player in the fiery depths below. According to Aleister Crowley's illustrated Goetia, those that attempt to speak with Berith soon learn that he's a formidable liar. Crowley refers to him as speaking with a clear and subtle voice, and is a liar when not answering questions. To speak with Berith, the conjurer must wear a silver ring and hold it clearly to their face in respect to the Great Duke. If not, Berith will consume the conjurer for not sincerely paying their respects. Berith is often depicted as a soldier, dressed in red clothes, riding a red horse, and wearing a golden crown. His main function is to corrupt those that crave power, and is often found lingering on both sides of a war. In 1612, a nun from Aix-en-Provence was possessed by Berith. During the exorcism, Berith gave up his own name, as well as the names of all the other demons possessing her, but also the names of the saints who would be most effective in opposing them. That guy loves a good fight. Bringing it up at the rear at number 2, we have Pazuzu. Dating back to ancient Mesopotamia, Pazuzu is the king of the demons of the wind. He is the bearer of storms and the bringer of drought, and is often depicted with the body of a man, the head of a dog, and the talons of an eagle. In the possession case of Roland Doe, the story that inspired The Exorcist, Pazuzu is the chief demon that possesses the boy. He is known to be an incredibly intelligent demon, and is renowned for scheming and corrupting the pure of heart. He takes most pleasure, though, from corrupting the purest of the pure, and is often depicted trying to possess children for sport. It is also thought that Pazuzu predates most other demons, and is thought to be an Oberith, an ancient evil that manifested itself from the abyss and has been tied to Earth for millions of years. Strangely though, Pazuzu finds reference in a huge number of ancient societies, from Mesopotamia to Sumeria to ancient Babylon. In some, he is revered as a savior and protector, others a demon who should never be summoned. Followers of the Oberith often carve wooden statues of the demon and worship him in the hope that Pazuzu will one day reveal his true name to them. No thanks. And coming in at the top spot, number 1, we have Azazel. Azazel, or Satan, or Lucifer, or the devil, or Baphomet. You know this guy. He's the king of all demonic possession, and he loves nothing more than a group of teenagers standing around a pentagram and beckoning him forward into the mortal realm. The Horn Prince is heavily related to the image of the goat, and we often see him depicted with hooves, horns, and a tail. But this actually has some substance to it. In Abrahamic society, a priest would whisper the prayers of a village into the ears of a goat, and then sacrifice it in the hopes that their prayers would be answers. But in fear of Azazel corrupting the goat, they select an extra goat, often referred to as a scapegoat, and use it as a decoy. They'd then send it out into the desert, hoping they'd wasted a little bit of time for the devil. Now, we all know that's probably not the case. He's a tricky one. In the Dead Sea Scrolls, Azazel is referred to in the Book of Giants and connects him with the story of the fallen angels. In this, he teaches men the art of war and also teaches women the art of witchcraft and painting the body. Generally, Azazel pops up in pretty much every possession story ever, and it's probably wiser just to avoid him altogether.